Coach, let's talk about recruiting. Let's talk about rankings and maybe some changes in recruiting recently.
Well, there's a Big Ten rankings, but there's 18 teams there, so there's a little counting issue. So we took a little different approach to rankings. I've heard people say that rankings aren't important. And I would scratch my head and say, rankings aren't important. Of course they're important. It's like someone saying stats aren't very important. And my research shows that when people that normally say stats aren't important, they're not very good at something. Same thing with rankings. If as long as you're keeping score, try to win. Now you got to be disciplined about that. You got 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. Never let that impact your decision. However, I would check rankings every day, multiple times a day during recruiting season. And what I found out is those people a lot of times doing the rankings, they're right. And we missed on a guy because a coach, they're doing that all day long. We're doing stuff. And there's many, many times throughout my career, I'd find a player. I'd be looking on recruiting, so wait a minute, who's this guy? We're not, and we rewatch them and we move them up the list and end up recruiting them. And I took recruiting the same way we coached games. If you lost your recruit, Gerry, we had to find out why. When you lose a game, what do? You research why.
Absolutely.
You go back, hours, 30 hours of finding out why you lost that game. If I had a coach or myself would lose a recruit, I want to find out why, what happened. Because in my opinion, we shouldn't lose a player. And so we treated it like a game. Coaches were held accountable. Recruiting is the bloodline of the great game of college football.
Yeah, and if you track the top recruiters in the country and you track the top teams in the country, they're usually one and the same.
I'm not sure there's any more example of correlation between recruiting and winning in the sport we have. So it's really not that complicated. You get the best players, coach them up, you usually win.
Well, let's take a look at the present rankings. Any surprises?
Yeah, I think, this is the Big Ten rankings. UCLA is number 16, but I think for the fan on the right side, that's the number of prospects that they have committed. So UCLA with 12, I imagine they would be in the top 5, top 6. It's UCLA if they had the same number of prospects committed like in Oregon and Penn State. Same with USC, there's only 15. USC recruits better than that. The other thing that really doesn't surprise me, the rich get richer, the medium stay medium, and the bottom teams in the Big Ten are there. That's why they recruit differently. They recruit more of that 3-star guy development player. The top dogs, they're probably going to go after the best players in the country. And I'm telling you, you know this from your LSU days, when Ohio State goes against Penn State, goes against the Wolverines, that's a street fight to get that player. You better recruit hard because the other school is.
I don't know that people know this. It's as competitive as the games.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's everything you can do to win that recruiting battle. You mentioned UCLA and USC with their low number of commitments at the present time. Some of that style, right? Some coaches just want to go slower than others, and some are saving more nowadays for the portal, and so they might not sign as big a class as they have in the past. I bring up the portal, I guess, to ask you the question, what are some of the changes in recruiting that you've seen?
Yeah, the biggest change is the calendar. The calendar, when we were young coaches and starting, it was you go out and identify the seniors in May. You come back, you put together your list, you send out letters once a week, handwritten letters, and then you call once a week. In December and January, you recruit like your hair is on fire. And then you go back to being around your players in the off season. Now it's 24/7. You have official visits in the spring. So you are recruiting, and I've seen it with members of my family in the coaching world. I've seen it from colleagues. Gerry, you're recruiting every day like it's December and January. And I worry about that. I think coaches, I'm hearing about it, they're getting burnt out a little bit. They're getting less and less time with their current players, which has always bothered me. And if you're a young coach with a young family and, you're constantly, and I see it.
Right.
I mean, the calendar, the only good thing in the calendar is the month of July is off. Right. So that's a 30-day window of nothing. In the old days, a great player from California comes in. I'm leaving my vacation, and Shelley knew why, because I got to go to get a cheeseburger with a great recruit.
Yeah, that has been a positive change. There's some talk about not having a national letter signing day.
Jeez.
And just when a prospect decides, and the reason I bring this up, this could make a coach's life maybe better. I mean, the month of July off has helped, but if someone you're recruiting decides they want to come and it's June 2nd, before maybe they've even officially visited, they can sign then and you can move on.
One quick comment about that.
Yeah.
I'm really opposed to that because I think the head coach should have the ability to watch that player play her senior year. Football is the #1 development sport. Your bodies change. I've recruited kids that gained 25 pounds.
Right.
I've seen players go from being a MAC, Mid-America Conference recruit, to an SEC recruit within 3 months because of body weightlifting and training and coaching. So I'd like to see the calendar go back to being slow.
You know, there used to be a day if you were a good position coach and an average recruiter, you know, that was okay. Not anymore. You better be great at both.